How have you been?
Doing great. Beautiful weather.
Yeah.
Something to do around the house.
That's right. Especially here when you live in Copper Canyon, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep. Okay. Recording. Let's see here. Okay. We're ready to go.
Tuesday, February 28th, 7 p.m. Calling to order the Board of Adjustment meeting. Public input is the second item. Citizens can make comments to the Board of Adjustments during this section of the meeting agenda. We ask citizens who wish to speak on the agenda items to sign in on the sheet provided on the table in the back of council chambers. There's a 3-minute time limit for each speaker pursuant to the state open meetings law. The Board of Adjustment cannot discuss or take action on items not posted on the agenda. So opening public hearing at 7 p.m. The Town of Copper Canyon's Board of Adjustment will conduct a public hearing for the purpose of hearing any and all comments regarding 1, the request from Alice Barber for a variance from the Town of Copper Canyon Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14, Zoning, Article 2, Section 2-102, in parentheses 4, minimum side yard setback of 50 feet, to allow a minimum side yard setback ranging from 44 feet to 37 feet due to the angled lot for the 120 Quiet Hill, Copper Canyon, Texas. The property is legally described as Quiet Hill Estates, Block 8, Lot 3. I'm going to pause for just one quick question for you. We technically have a supermajority, right? So we don't have to wait for him.
Correct.
But it's got to be a unanimous decision in that case. So you're sure he's coming? Like, should I wait?
He said he would be.
Do you want to call him? We're going to pause the meeting temporarily. It's beneficial to have as many members as you can. Isn't he just around the corner from here?
I heard the car door shut.
Oh.
Maybe he's on his way in there. Maybe that's somebody stealing my car. My wife. Couldn't find the keys. So I took them in there. You might have heard that we don't have support at night.
Yeah.
I guess it.
You might answer, but it's probably, you wouldn't recognize the number.
Huh.
We can wait and see if we can pick it up.
The thing is, if we cover too much, he's not going to have the benefit of hearing, in which case his vote would be questionable. And so, you guys okay with waiting about 5 minutes or maybe? Okay. Yeah.
I would be a bit more beneficial. Sorry, we had all. I'm good.
Thanks. Did we stop the recording? I hope so. But remember, you're limited to 3 minutes. You know what, with one person.
I don't think I need more than 3 minutes.
All right, so public hearing, it is 7:11. Public hearing is now open. You wish to speak.
You need me to? Or would it be good if I summarize?
Yep.
It's your turn to kind of say what you need to do.
All right, so I need to make this one.
You do.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, I, Fred Barber, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Right. And one question for you, because it's not stated on a record, just so that we officially have it. The claim is from Alice Barber, but yes, and I just want to confirm on the record, you're the husband, you live at the address, and you have the right to speak on her behalf, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Barber, husband, Alice Barber at 120 Quiet Hill Circle in Copper Canyon.
Very good, thank you for the clarification, I like that.
Unfortunately, could not be here tonight for property insertion. What we've presented here, so we have a 5,600 square foot house plus a guest house on 2 acres. We have in the last year bought an RV and would like a place to put it. The advantage of the RV garage is it allows for better environmental control versus parking and things we have currently stored at Aubrey. The logical location on our property would be to attach to the northeast side of the house. We have over 150 trees on our lot. This is graded, there's a fair amount of decline from the street down to the back of the lot. This location only requires 3 trees to be removed. Any other location would have a lot more environmental impact. It's also only about 8 feet of flat work. We can tie into the electric and the plumbing of the house. We can actually, from this location, run an RV sewer dump straight into our septic, only about 20 feet. So logically, this is the place to put it. To build a separate out structure, you'd be taking out 30, 40 trees and putting in 100 plus feet of flat wood. This is 250 feet back from the street. The lot does drop a little bit. We have in mind actually planting like some red cedar up front and screen it a little bit more. Our HOA does have a covenant regarding front facing garages. We've already spoken to our architectural review board, which I think my wife is on, but she refused herself. And they have no problem with it. A couple other exceptions have been granted for logical reasons. Given this site and the width that is required, we require just a couple feet over the building. It's probably about 2 feet less than what we have requested. And Sheila kind of advised us to go a little, give yourself a little margin in case the architect or engineer comes in and adjusts this a little bit. So, so we would be approximately 44 feet from the Mendez residence on the closest dimension. The lot does angle towards the back, so the back right-hand corner, the northeast corner would be about 37 feet. The best we were able to measure, we put in some flags and did our best to measure that as accurately as possible. So that's it. We've submitted statements from both our neighbor across the street and our next door neighbor that they have no opposition to this. Architecturally, we would tie in the rest of the design of the house. We make this very attractive, so that it would not be. You know, if you go through Copper Creek, you'll see there's 4 or 5 RV garages on houses down there, and they can look really nice. And that is our objective, is to make this thing an asset, not only for our house, but the neighborhood as a whole. Thank you very much.
What is the actual dimensions of the garage itself?
It would be approximately 40 feet deep, and I believe it's about 20 feet wide. Okay, your door is typically 14 feet wide, so that gives you 3 feet on each side. And our RV is 29 feet if you want margin. With a 40-foot, you could actually park a Class A bus in there if you wanted. You could put a boat with 2 jet skis in there.
The 20 by 40.
Correct.
How tall would it be?
It is 18 feet. The doorway would be 18 feet, the entire square, so the doorway would be 14 by 18. The entire structure with peak to roof would be up more like about 20 to 30 feet.
Which matches the house.
Correct.
Mr. Barber, help build this house.
Yes,
And I think Mrs. Barber mentioned they'll build to the east a little bit to preserve some of the trees.
correct. The west side is heavily wooded. There's probably 75 80 trees on the west side of the house, as well as a large road in the back with some big old post oaks, beautiful trees.
Any additional questions?
You had the house originally built
Correct.
this
Yeah,
way.
and we know this, we would have moved it a few feet to the left. We have plenty of space on the west side, but unfortunately, the environmental impact on the trees would be much worse for everybody. Plus, you'd have to let the driveway over there.
Any additional comments? Any additional questions? We can come back to questions.
Yeah.
Just. Okay. Public hearing is closed at 7:17 p.m. So we'll move on to the action and discussion items. Number one, discuss and consider take action regarding approving the minutes of the November 21st Board of Adjustment meeting. Is there a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion to approve the minutes made by Aaron Myastis, seconded by Nate Langston. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Discuss, consider, and take action regarding the request from Alice Barber for variance from Town of Copper Canyon Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14 zoning, Article 2, Section 2-102 of the C4. Minimum side yard setback of 50 feet to allow a minimum side yard setback ranging from 44 feet to 37 feet due to angled lot for 125 Hill, Copper Canyon, Texas. The property is legally described as Quiet Hill Estates Block A as an alpha, Lot 3. Discussion.
I'll go first. When I look at the application, we have a responsibility to determine that all four sections are covering the pieces that are required to grant the variance. I'm struggling with A and B and seeing where there is a property hardship in terms of this addition being added onto the house, and so Mr. Barber may need help with distinguishing for A and B, the property hardship piece of this one.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
On the application, there are four, he's referring to this application, there are four questions. And then it looks like Mrs. Barber supplied us with some information, and he's questioning the very first one, the very first question.
Okay.
And just to reiterate, I apologize for interrupting, all four of those have to be supported. In other words, you can't have a majority, you can't have 3 out of the 4 and we go, yeah, thumbs up. It has to be all 4 in order to get the members to consider it. So just so that you know.
So the aspect in terms of where to put it on the lot.
Would you please talk up there? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the question is regarding what makes this a property hardship to grant an exemption. We, as I stated in the application, we made it, when we designed the house in 2015, we went as far back on the lot as possible to preserve trees. We actually placed this house and everything there to remove as few trees as possible. As a huge asset of the lot, we paid extra for a heavily treated lot. So in building this to serve our family's needs, we want to stay consistent with that idea where we're only removing 3 trees. So as well as being able to tie in to electric, plumbing, and septic from this location is a minimal amount of flat impervious cover required. Anything else would require a massive amount of flat work, damaging to the groundwater and all sorts of things like that. So that's our rationale.
I and process the council or the board Justin and jump in where you may see failure. Where I'm struggling with I don't know, stick with it. Well, I understand preservation of trees is very important. And then you're only able to agree with this. With the house being moved over initially, that's creating, I guess, the challenge that you're saying here of being able to build within the setback.
Had we conceived of this at the time of planning our house, we had to move our house 8 feet to the left and been able to do this. We just never had this idea 7, 8 years ago. There are some other houses in our neighborhood that also vary from the setback due to primarily preservation trees. So we are not the first or only one who have made the same request.
Thank you.
How are you on the other 3?
C and D, I was comfortable with it. I mean, the being granted on materially detriment, this is beautiful. As you mentioned, beautiful home, and I appreciate that they're being thoughtful here with, using existing stonework that they have in the house and make it look that it's attached, that it's existing. I'm not so concerned about that. B is similar to the same concern as A, is that you don't necessarily struggle with knowing that the variance is necessary to permit the applicant with the same rights they would have other neighbors. Going back to his comment, they would know that years ago when they built the house, like it could have been 8 feet, this would necessarily have been a concern. Is that a property hardship? To me, it sounds, to me, what I'm leaning to is that it was more where the house was originally platted versus where the property line existed, and they're now trying to build a house on property. Is that
Like an accessory building or garage, you mean?
well, I understand that there is.
It wouldn't be an accessory building.
I understand that there is the back of the lot turns back into the property to the left. And so the building the house, they moved it over to the right slightly to preserve the trees. That was kind of what made a decision for it to be on the right side of the property line, and therefore being asked of us tonight to figure out if there is a cause for a variance, be great.
We did know that both 115 Whitehill Circle and 145 Whitehill Circle had variances granted for some reasons.
But they were front yard setbacks, right? That's my recollection.
Well, some of them were, but when you said the tree one, there was one that was granted,
Yeah,
something related to.
giant, beautiful post oak that
Huge.
no one wanted to have.
Right.
I
I'd have to look at, I'd have to pull them. But
Okay.
I know front yard setback was another thing.
Yeah.
did look at 145 Whitehill, which was one of them, it was in 2018.
Okay,
I don't know how much I can comment on that, because I wasn't on the board of adjustments at that time. I did look at the notes, and it is different in this scenario than what we're being asked of tonight, so I don't know if I can say it's an apples to apples comparison, but that is, sure, that is my concern.
Okay. Yeah.
I understand where Eric's going from, but I look at it as a coulda, woulda, shoulda, yes, I suppose if one thinks later on wants to get an RV and move the house over, I mean, those are all things, circumstances that just have changed. I personally, I appreciate the fact that he's trying to tie it into the same facade as the home, with the same material. It doesn't look like another barn. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that minimize additional flat work and ripping out septic is a nightmare. I have a neighbor that's doing it right now, and it's just, I would not want to wish that to anybody. So it's a big job, and there's more disturbance in the entire ground. So I personally don't have a problem with it, but I do understand that you have to follow certain guidelines and what is to be granted as a variance, being on the side yard. I don't have any objections to it.
Any questions on the 4 points?
No, I do not. I do not have any questions on that.
Anything else?
No, I do not have any questions. On the 4 points.
I'm sorry, I don't have any questions either. The one question I had was answered when I asked what the dimensions of the building was actually going to be. I was hoping to hear maybe there could be some adjustments on the width of the actual addition that's going to be on there. That's pretty much the standard size for a garage like that.
Backing these things in is a little tricky. You need some margin there.
Don't ask me to do that.
Yeah, I was saying, I drive one myself. I drove it today as a matter of fact, so they're challenging to drive, no doubt. So looking at the diagram, I can't really tell, is this structure that you're proposing, is it flush with the house?
No, it's at the back of the house, it's about, well, you got a 3-car garage on, if you can see from the,
Is this tying into?
here, if you look at the survey, you can see that the front of the house is a good 40 feet in front of the door of the garage.
So your biggest issue is really kind of on the side, that's where you're really, in that one corner.
Correct.
Hmm.
Yeah, so again, because this is over 250 feet from the street and slopes downhill, the visibility from the street is somewhat more curtailed.
And the larger, or not the larger, I guess it's this. The larger encroachment is in that corner that you have.
That northeast corner,
Right,
correct?
it'll be hidden by the trees.
Yeah, that's behind 2 different rows of trees.
And you did say that you've taken this to your local HOA and they have approved it.
The architectural review board of our HOA has approved the variance and covenants, and all of our neighbors. We've submitted written statements from 2 of them, the 2 next door across the street would be most immediately impacted. Everyone, we just had our HOA meeting last month, everybody thinks it's fine.
And the variance you had to apply with them was the front facing.
Front facing garage, correct, and then there's 2 other front facing garages for similar reasons for layouts and problems.
Tough one, Dave.
Yeah,
Something to think about. And I couldn't tell you exactly where on the property, but if he built just an accessory building, a garage, it could be 15 feet from his property line. As long as it's in the rear.
So yes, we have the legal right to build an independent freestanding garage and lay a 100-foot driveway back to it. We don't want to do that. I don't think anybody in our neighborhood or anybody in town would like it. And that would entail probably removing 50+ trees.
so items that we considered and items that they give us, the town attorney's given us guidance on is what they call a self-imposed hardship. And that happens when somebody has a piece of property. Well, first of all, 2 things. One is when Quiet Hill Estates was platted, I was on council, and we absolutely positively told that developer the way that these lots are platted, it's going to cause some issues undoubtedly in the future. Because depending on the size homes that they were building, the ones that he suggested, we thought there might be issues. So we had said, you know, we don't want a rash of board of adjustments requests just because you platted it this way. Yes, that's not gonna happen. I mean, you just said that we had several already, which I wasn't aware of, but in research, I always kind of figure out what's going on here, what we've done. Okay, so that's item number one. Item number two is you built the place, you built, it's on the lot that you bought. It was a decision on where to place it. There is, and this is the part that I'm on the fence on, to be honest with you, there is that sort of odd angular cut to your lot. I also, and it's only from the benefit of driving a Class A, you can't drive that thing around the corner. If you're gonna sell your house and you're gonna try to make that corner, I have a problem getting my own driveway, and I have a really large circle driveway, right? I can barely make 3/4 of it, so I'm with you on that. It's not logical to place it in the back, simply because moving a large vehicle back there, it's too difficult to back into or drive out of. So I definitely, I understand completely where you're coming from there. We also do have benefit, your neighbors were kind enough to send 2 notes in. Do you know where, can you tell me where Daniel Menendez is?
Daniel is immediately to our right.
He's the guy in the
Yeah,
house with
that's
the
our
angle.
father's original house.
Okay, okay. And then across the street, we have, Paul, right? Yeah. Okay, so the good news is they supported it. So, but the self-imposed hardship is something that the town attorney has coached us on, saying, if it's a self-imposed hardship, meaning they, you know, you're the original owner, you're the original homeowner, you decided where to place your house, and then you apply for an appeal, it's a self-imposed. Now, we've had arguments in the past where people say, hey, when we bought it in 2015 or years before, the rule wasn't there. Unfortunately, we can't look behind and say, you know, backward-looking laws, unless there's some reason to grandfather it in. So that's where I'm stuck is, I read her explanation, by the way, kudos to her, I thought she was very thorough in here, and I appreciate the detail that she put in here. That was very, very beneficial. But that's where I'm stuck, is.
Well, let me throw out a hypothetical for you.
Okay.
If there was a 6-inch air gap between this garage that he's building and the house that he has, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Well, it has to be 10 feet, actually.
Yeah.
10 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we moved it 10 feet over, we could build in there. It would be more expensive to build. It would also entail more tree removal, more grading. So we're trying to do this in a way that respects
But
the
if-
existing drainage.
But it wouldn't be he wouldn't have to apply.
It would also look more.
Correct. You would not have to.
That's the same point of this. If we deny this, if he built another one that's a standalone structure, how is that going to the neighborhood and to the town?
It would be an eyesore. You know, this also is in line with the existing drainage off the lot. The drainage runs just to the right of this, pulls the water to the back. So if you go any further to the right, you're basically totally messing up the drainage.
So it's going straight back into that line.
Right. And we looked at this thoroughly because there's no other logical place to do this.
Your wife, the chairman's comments, and your wife definitely gave us a ton of detail going into this to where we were able to kind of think through this ahead of time, so we appreciate that. It's well, true, but
So Sheila, remind me again, so if we look at this, okay, and then it's kind of the charts on the back, but any of that, just playing with clay here, if it was an accessory building, it would have to be 10 foot to the, I'm trying to get directions here, to the east, yeah. 10 feet east of the house, eh?
And it'd be at 27 feet from the line and 34 feet from the front of the driveway. So you'd
And I'll have to check the ordinances, but it may have to be further back too, where the trees are. Because it cannot be in the side yard, cannot be in the front yard if we do that too. I have to look at the definition on the rear yard, whether it's behind the front line, but there are trees that even at the top of the current driveway.
If you want to sit down, we'll give us a minute here. Thanks.
Sure, you said you'd have to look to see how far back you have to go and start, so it's not considered part of the side yard.
I'll check with the permitting person and our ordinance.
You'd have to check with the who?
Permitting.
Oh, permitting. It definitely, I appreciate what you're saying as far as architecturally, you don't want it to look bad. The way that they designed it, it looks very nice. And it's clearly would be A plus, if you will. So I think that's a very decent point, a very good point. The alternative is an accessory building, which Sheila, with the newest ones, and I haven't received a copy, did they approve it yet, the newest accessory building? And I think they approved it, right? The last meeting or two. Is there anything in there that gives him a little bit of room to wiggle on that? Or is it like if he,
Well, the size is limited, but he's on 2 acres, so
oh,
what is it?
or two,
40 by, what?
20 by 40?
No, that's not, that one. That's not limited.
It's not limited?
The side, not in this, I mean, not the one he's proposing.
What's the height? It can't be higher than
Higher
The
than
that.
the
height
house.
stayed the same, it's still at 20. 20 feet.
The peak can't be higher than the house, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 35.
No, I mean, design wise, it totally fits. Usability standpoint, like just thinking of what's logical, like if you put it on the opposite side of the house, you'd have to cross over with a potentially a 40-foot vehicle from 30 feet backwards. And then, yeah, and then you go, trust me. So, and then you have to go this way. And so it's not logical. On the other hand, so if you had to sacrifice length or width, my guess is it would be width, right? If you had to sacrifice.
Yeah, you could, you want me to speak more?
Yes, please, I'm sorry.
So in terms of width, the door is 14 feet wide. That's the size that they're made.
Yeah.
Okay. We elected for 3 feet on each side to have room to walk around past the market area, as well as just architecturally it's prettier. You could go to a minimum of 2 feet wide in terms of the trusses and support beams. So this could be an 18 by 40 structure. You're still gonna be able to build one. You know, and as it is, we went with the variance we requested, actually requesting probably 2 or 3 feet more than will actually be required. Just so that, if, you know, when an architect works in there, if we mismeasure, we won't be coming back again. So the actual build, we expect to be maybe 2.5 feet over the build line. And right now, I think we're at 6 feet over the build line. That's going to be the widest part, the front part. The back is
How confident are you in that? In that it's only 2 feet over versus 6?
I'm not an architect or an engineer, so I hate to say something with confidence where I have no actually. We went out there and measured as best we could. We laid some landscape flags and we laid out a tape measure. That's the extent of our, architectural skill. So I wish I could say that with greater confidence. I've made a smart statement here, they'll tell the whole truth.
Yeah, and that's fair. And at the end of the day, if it's an on-off switch, so to speak, either way, you have to have a variance.
Either way,
So,
yeah, this is basically just a go no go decision. If it's not good with the town, then we don't go.
yeah,
There's no other logical place, and no other sensible way to
I
do
would
this
agree.
without massive environmental impact. And
Or odd building that would make it just
something like, we're not gonna do something ugly.
Yeah,
You know, we built this house, with a design of applying something beautiful, and this is designed to be a beautiful addition.
yeah. Okay, board, any other questions? Sheila, anything else we need to know? Okay, do I have a motion?
I would present the motion to approve this request based on the right word is the aesthetic beauty of retaining the aesthetic beauty of this neighborhood as opposed to an exterior building that would meet our complicated requirements.
Motion to approve by Nate Livingston, is there a second? Kathleen Drexler seconds that motion. All in favor, aye.
Right.
Tom, the guy. You're gonna need to give me a minute, so. Yeah. So quick poll, Aaron, you feel that it passes all 4 conditions?
I struggle with. There are other options available that are less pleasing to the property. In terms of the accessory building and the variance that goes along with it. I'm not your answer is not 100% confident that it does, but Mr. Barber, Mrs. Barber represents something that I feel is worth appealing and what they could do with this property, the variance that's allowed in terms of accessory building.
Okay, Catherine.
I tend to agree with Aaron.
Okay. Any other?
Well, because I guess there's other things that can be done, but I would rather see something that complements the existing property. It's at the same level of construction. It has the same facade. It doesn't disrupt the trees around, which are so precious today. I mean, yes, there could have been something else, but there wouldn't be as impactful. And property value, I mean, overall, I think this is the best that we can get.
I agree with what you're saying, Carolyn. I'd hate to see a metal
Too many.
SUV building built on the back of that thing to park the RV. It seems like a better solution, even though it will cause us to improve the area.
Mr. Chairman, one more comment that was, I think it's the deciding factor for me. We're at 37 feet in that corner, 44 feet in the front. If we did the 10 feet and moved in, it would be at 27 feet, which would then encroach Mr. Excuse me. Mendez's, thank you, property closer. So
Yeah.
I believe just based on what he's provided in terms of reaching out to Mr. Mendez, trying to have it brought in as close to his property line as possible to determine reason for my decision.
So that is a huge factor for me. That's a big factor. It's like technically you could squeeze under the line and not be, not have to go through as much with an accessory building, but aesthetically, there's, it wouldn't be that. Okay, so for the fact that, I've seen the property, I've seen the neighborhood, I think what you're proposing is within keeping of it. I'm very divided on the reasons, but I agree with the board that, alternatives are worse. And so I vote aye, so unanimous vote, Sheila. So you have the super majority.
I really appreciate just how deliberate you are. And the way in which you think this is great. This is why I'm on this time.
I will say one thing that I think, to pass on to your wife, really well done on the documentation.
Very thank you.
That if people took the time, which she clearly took, to explain each issue, that really helped. Having neighbors weigh in does help. I always said, it's great if they come in person, but when somebody comes and says, oh, my neighbor says it's okay, well, we can't take the word, so I'd love to, but we can't. So we're having them key in, but more importantly, the amount of time that she spent, the design, it's clear that you want quality and you'll maintain what that neighborhood looks like. So from that standpoint, like I said, I think Nate brought up, initially the great point of if it's an accessory building, it just would not.
There's one being built down the road in Copper Canyon. It's in the front yard of that house. It's kind of a monstrosity.
In the front yard?
Yeah. What's that?
Wait, my.
It's framed in right now.
We're in Copper.
So further south, on the east side, almost all the towns on the east side. So not quite all the way to Copper Creek. So basically between us and Copper Creek on the side, there's a large accessory building that looks like an RV garage. It's sort of a traditional barn shape. That's the
If
center.
you're going
Going south.
it's before the gun range?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it Boots Ranch?
No, well before Boots Ranch. It's,
So is this the property that's on Copper Canyon Road?
yeah, is it on the firehouse side?
Yeah, no, that's across from the firehouse, not directly by. I've driven past it, I can't tell you precisely, where it is, but you'll see it.
Okay.
Sorry,
Sorry,
right
I'm
now.
off topic.
My wife is the financial director of the Belcher Custom Home, so we certainly know Boots Ranch really.
Yeah.
well. And I wish every house wasn't white.
Okay, so for official businesses, the motion carries on item number 2. And so that we can continue, motion to adjourn. Wait, I'm sorry, who first? Did you first or second it?
I second.
Okay, I didn't hear the first. So Aaron made the first, Catherine made the second. All those in favor say aye. Aye, unanimous vote.
All right. I don't know.
Good luck with it.
Didn't anticipate it to be quite